Millions of Americans are returning brand new vehicles. When luxury cars feel cheap, trucks have dangerous blind spots, and even basic parts are made of plastic. It's easy to see why.
Bro, you got a new Jeep. Is it powerful? No. Is it comfortable? No. Is it smooth? No. Is it fast? No. Is it roomy? No. Okay, it gets good gas mileage, right? No. It's got lots of cargo space? No. It's good at towing? No. Is it affordable? No. Okay, it's gotta be reliable? No. Then what's so great about it? Bro, this is an off-road machine. So you're gonna take it off-road? No.
Build quality is falling fast. Fake vents, electronic shifters, and touchscreen controls are replacing durable components that lasted for decades.
Hey, what's this oil pan made out of? Aluminum? No, we need to make that plastic. You guys like V8 engines? Good to know. We're gonna take this half-ton truck and cram a turboed 4-cylinder in it. It's gonna take a shit every 17,000 miles. No, oil pan needs to be plastic, valve covers need to be plastic. Fucking, you guys ever do anything with plastic suspension pieces? Yeah, let's make that happen. Fuck it, make the engine plastic. Rear view mirrors are too simple. We're gonna take this fucking giant iPad and we're gonna put it where the rear view mirror would normally go, right? And every time you look at it wrong, it's gonna malfunction. We're gonna make the fucking body plastic, the windows plastic, everything's gonna be fucking plastic. Plastic drain plugs, plastic bolts, every goddamn thing's gotta be plastic. Why did you guys make this easy to work on? Okay, I love the thought process, but we're gonna scratch that. Fucking plastic tires, plastic fucking mirrors. You guys don't like the twin turboed 4-cylinders? What about 3 turbos?
New cars suck. Glass headlights, plastic headlights. Flimsy plastic, stiff. Fake vent number 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a single fake vent on the Celica. What even is this button? I can't believe this is actually your parking brake. And this is what you use to shift the car? Real e-brake and a manual transmission. No screens either, and it's very driver focused. Andrew, what's your favorite thing about your car?
The fact that it'll gap yours.
You know what? You do have me there. All of this plastic is disgusting. You can actually see my turbo. It is very cool to see how far Toyota has come in 30 years. It's also great that you can still see 30-year-old Toyotas on the road today. Will that happen with a BMW made Toyota though? I don't know. It's also awesome that Toyota is continuing to make awesome sports cars, even in a time when we have super strict regulations and no one wants a manual anymore. Which styling do you like more, new Toyota or old Toyota? All jokes aside, both of these cars are awesome in their own way, but I do have to admit, BMW does know how to make a good car.
Luxury cars have lost what made them special. Owners of expensive SUVs are dealing with constant suspension failures, electrical issues, steering problems, and interiors that creak and crack.
All right, guys, so here is my 2019 Range Rover SVR. I bought this with right around 40,000 miles. It's got 86,000 miles. Beautiful car, beautiful estro blue, carbon fiber hood. I added some Boston wheels on it. So the Range Rover SVR has a 5.0 supercharged V8 that pushes 575 horsepower. As good as this car looks, this has been the most problematic SUV I've ever bought. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks good, it sounds good, but it is not reliable. I have already had so many suspension issues, right? I've had sensor issues, TPMS, key. I've had 2 power steering motors go out. These Range Rovers eat through brakes and rotors like it's just an appetizer. I've went through so many brakes and rotors with this car. Now, 575 horsepower is a lot, but this is a pig. It is huge and it weighs a lot. I will say this, the SVR does look good and the exhaust on the SVR does sound amazing. Now, for as expensive as this car is, in my opinion, the interior is super bland. You get very finicky seats, very finicky, cheap interior sort of finishes, and it is not durable. I mean, it creaks, it cracks. Also, the amount of radio and Bluetooth issues I've had with this Range Rover, other Range Rovers, it's just astronomical. So if you want to look good, buy a Range Rover SVR. If you want to be smart and not spend a lot of money and waste all your money on maintenance, don't buy a Range Rover SUV.
Right here is a 2026 5 Series, and right here is a 2026 Kia. Tell me why these interiors basically look identical. Right here is a 7 Series and a 5 Series from back in 2015. Both of these cars could be equipped with things like soft closing doors, massaging seats, heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, all these different features and amenities that made a luxury car a luxury car. This is Kia back in 2015. Now, I'm not gonna act like I know Kias from back in 2015, but I'm almost 100% sure they didn't even have half the amenities that BMW had back in 2015. Nowadays, all we need is a giant flat screen TV and we have our luxury car. Basically, every new car is a luxury car. There's absolutely no reason why a top trim BMW that costs over $100,000 like the G90 M5 has a very comparable interior to a Kia. I personally miss old luxury cars where you didn't need big screens or big ambient lighting strips all around the car for it to be a luxury car. Back when car brands like Lexus had things that no other car brand had. And cooled seats for its time, full leather interiors with powered seats. Luxury cars were so baller back then that they used to come with their own phones. Nowadays, all you need to be a luxury car is to have a big flat screen TV and maybe some ambient strips from Alibaba. Pretty soon by 2030, we're gonna have cars that are looking like this and everyone's gonna scream luxury. Personally, I don't see one luxury amenity in this car besides a big giant flat screen TV. This is technology, not luxury.
There's a pretty good chance we're the last generation of car enthusiasts. Every single year, emissions requirements just become more and more strict, and cars have to become heavier and heavier just to meet these standards, meaning that the cars become more complicated. And a lot of the cars these days, you can't even pop the hood to work on it yourself. We've almost completely lost the right to repair. I mean, the new Audi RS5 Avant is over 5,000 pounds, and the M3 next generation will probably be pushing around that number too. Design language has also gone out the window. Almost every single car is trying to be as minimalistic as possible. None of them try to set themselves apart, and it's horrible. Don't even get me started on the racetracks that are closing all over the United States. It seems like every single week I hear about a new racetrack that's on its way out. It just gives people less and less opportunity to really dive into the hobby. And then not only are we losing racetracks, but we're also losing amazing events because people just don't know how to act. It's like all you had to do was show up and act like a normal person, but people just can't sit there and enjoy the hobby for what it is. They have to ruin things.
Banks are repossessing more late model vehicles, while brands like Ford and Ram are struggling to move inventory, sitting on dealership lots across America.
I'll show you how bad repos are getting and how new these vehicles are that are getting repossessed by the banks and being sold at the auction. Look at this. All these are repos, all brand new cars. You got Chargers, Scat Packs, Mercedes, Genesis, Range Rovers, Range Rover, trucks, Teslas. Man, they should have repoed this. This ain't no Scat Pack. Look at that. The Savini's wheel with the, it's a regular Charger, man. And guys, these aren't, 2010, 2012. These are 2019, 2020s and up that are getting repoed. People are barely had these cars for a year, maybe less, maybe more, and the banks are picking them up and selling them at the auctions for a fraction of what they bought it for. Show you how cooked the car market is with all these high interest loans, people bailing out of their auto loans because they can't even afford it. But seriously, if you don't want to end up trying to pay the difference on a vehicle that you've bought at such a high price with a high interest rate, take your time to educate yourself and make sure you budget correctly. And as far as the car market goes, we're in trouble because all of these are repos.
We could have a race to the bottom because we have brands that are in such trouble. Ram, Stellantis, in horrible trouble. Ford with all of their F-150s sitting absolutely everywhere, 103 days supply and rising. And if the economy gets worse, well, people are going to buy fewer vehicles. And if prices continue to rise, well, people are going to buy fewer vehicles. We already have a problem at these dealerships. Ford is doing what they can right now with this program. Stellantis is doing what they can right now with this program to try to help dealers actually move inventory. But it might be too little, it might be too late. And if that's the case, then we could see a scenario where, okay, Ford came out with employee pricing. Now Stellantis does to make themselves more competitive. And then you get other manufacturers that do the same thing. Well, they might find out that it doesn't work or if it's not too much. Then Ford comes out and say, well, you know what? Every one of our F-150s, we're going to lower them by $15,000. Then you have Stellantis come out and say, well, every Ram truck will lower by $18,000. And then you can have this major race to the bottom because manufacturers are having a hard time moving these trucks because the economy is slowing. And when the economy is slowing, I can guarantee you that these $60, $70, $80,000 F-150s are not going to move any better than they're moving right now. And right now, we already have a major problem.
Owners are also paying subscription fees for features that don't work, facing massive repair bills on nearly new vehicles, and spending hundreds of dollars just to replace a key fob.
I pay for the heated seat subscription, and they still don't work. They wanted $1,200 for a quote-unquote system refresh on my 6-month-old car. Why is a key fob $400 to replace? And the lane assist
does not assist.
It can only take performance tires.
They're pretty expensive.
Why didn't I just lease? As soon as I drove it off the lot.
$8,000 in depreciation.
Yeah, my check oil light has been on for 3 years, and it still passes inspection, and it gets me to work every single day. No Bluetooth, no
Problem. $12 FM transmitter.
I replaced the alternator in a parking lot with a $40 part and a YouTube video and 1 wrench. Yeah, the locks are manual, but I've never been locked out of my car over software. Dude, not even AAA could break into my 1994 Ford Ranger. That thing is never getting stolen. If I lose my key, I can go to the hardware store and get a new one for $3.
Would you still buy a brand new vehicle today, or would you keep an older one instead? Let us know in the comments.